Shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto YAHAWAH, BaHa, YAHAWASHI, RACHAA, QADASH, and double honors unto the apostles, the elders of Great Millstone. Honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. And I did a live stream commentary, man. Like, it was like an hour and a half, and I think something went wrong, man, because when it eventually, like, when I ended the live and when it uploaded itself, it was all blank. So I actually covered this, but I wanted to cover it again because it just shows how you get these guys like Vocab Malone who try and come up against us, but even the most basic things in the scriptures they don't understand. You know, things that don't even need a breakdown. It's like so basic, they falter on. All right, and this is just yet another example. So I'm gonna play this.
Right name and the right translation. Let's use as many Hebrew words as possible, even though none of us speak Hebrew, and right? And you're like, Genesis 15:6. He believed the Lord, counted him as righteousness. Believe the Lord, counted him as righteousness. Your righteousness has always come through him, not from your own, just like we talked about in Philippians 3. Now, he's telling them he's going to go in Canaan. But there's a lot of people in Canaan. When we say Canaanites, do you realize it's kind of like saying Americans or something? I don't know what I'm trying to think.
Not really, because the Americans are not homogeneously one ethnic group. The American citizenry is shared by every ethnic group, if you want to use that term, there is on the planet Earth. Right? You got members of every nation and tribe that call themselves American. That's really not what Canaanites were. But let's keep going.
America has lots of cities, lots of ethnicities, lots. Canaan.
It was I'll give you that. There was lots of cities in Canaan, and there were lots of subgroups. But these subgroups were all Canaanites, except for one group, which we're going to talk about.
It had lots of ites in it. There's not a people group called the Canaanites.
There is just like how there's a people group who are called the Israelites. All right, because they come from the patriarch Israel or Jacob. There is a group of people who come from the patriarch Canaan. However, that doesn't mean that the different tribes at one point didn't operate independently. Just like you had in the ancient world, you had cities that operated independently. They were known as city-states. Nevertheless, the Canaanites were one ethnic group.
Canaanites are lots of ites. The Amorites, right? It's the people that live in that area.
It wasn't just the people that live in that area, because they had a common ancestor.
It's fine, but just understand, it's not, they're ethnically, Canaanite's a big...
Yes, it is, they're ethnically a Canaanite.
Broad term for a bunch of other people.
No, it's a broad term for a bunch of people that descended from Canaan.
So that's what a Canaanite is. And there's a lot of...
So let's just go into the scriptures. So if you go back to the book of Genesis, the 10th chapter, and you go into Noah, this is a Genesis 10:1. It says, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. Now it says, jumping down here, it said the sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, and Put, and Canaan. Okay, now out of Canaan, it says, and Canaan begat Zidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgasite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sunite, and the Arvadite, and the Zamorite, and the Hamathite, and afterward with the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar, unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah. Sodom and Gomorrah were city-states, and Admah and Zeboim, even unto Lasha. All right, so there's various subgroups or tribes or peoples that came out of Canaan. Just like when you go to for instance, Jacob had the 12 tribes. Each tribe was like a nation unto themselves. In fact, there was a point where the tribes, before they had a king, they were independent of each other, so to speak, and they came together on the judges. But it tells you in the book of Judges that every man did according to his own judgment, because they never had a king. So each tribe did their own thing, so to speak. All right, and the same thing was happening with the Canaanites. They had one patriarch. All right, even if we go into the interlinear, right, and you look up Canaan, right, it says the fourth son of Ham and the progenitor of the Phoenicians and various nations who peopled the sea coast of Palestine. Okay, so there weren't just no random groups of people called the Canaanites. These people were of that lineage. However, there is one set of people that were dwelling in the land of Canaan that were not Canaanites, and that's the Philistines. All right. So if we go up here to Mizraim, it says, Mizraim begat Ludim and Ananim and Lahabim and Naphtuhim and Pathrusim and Casluhim, out of whom came Philistim. So the Philistines were not Canaanites, even though they dwelt in the land of Canaan. The Philistines were actually of Mizraim. They were Egyptians. Now, let's look at the word Philistine, which is nomen omen. But the word, the name Philistine means sojourner, basically. Loosely translated. Let's go. Philistine. Right, immigrant. Yeah. Immigrant, because they immigrated into the land of Canaan. All right. And dwelt there. So the Canaanites, or you hear the Perizzites, the Amorites, these are all Canaanites. However, you had only one of the group of people living in the land that were not Canaanites. These were the Philistines. The rest of them were Canaanites, right? And it just shows you that this man isn't prudent when it comes to the scriptures. Okay, that's what it shows you, right? Here it is. He's here trying to come up against us, and he can't even get the most basic of things right, down to the genealogy, which is basic. We just broke it down real quick. All you have to do is read it. So, and this man's claimed to have gone to Bible seminar and all this Bible school, and you don't know that? You don't understand that the Canaanites were ethnically a people? Now, that's not saying that they had one king and they operated as one people. No, they didn't. But they were ethnically one people, except for the Philistines. Okay? So with that, I'm going to say shalom.